From WBBZ-TV Sports, it's time to beat the champ. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Peck and Sue Novoitsky.
It's a Western New York original and a Buffalo favorite. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Beat the Champ with Hall of Fame bowlers Sue Novoitsky and Janelle Saban. My name is Paul Peck. Welcome to the Tonawanda Bowling Center for our month-long stay as we continue to roll through 2018. And what a way to get it started here today, Sue, with a lineup of some of the best bowlers in all of Western New York. We start right off with our returning champ, Chuck Jagodzinski, and the great Mike Zarcone. Those two guys have combined for 37 appearances on this show.
I know, it's like an all-star lineup today. And then you come out with Mike Sarcone, who has a great look on this lane condition, versus Chuck, who might not feel as comfortable, even though he's returning champ. It's a strange scenario where the champ feels a little bit more like the underdog. Yeah,
and then our other two bowlers on this week's show, including Rocket Rob Piccoli and the defending Obenauer Masters champion, and another great Beat the Champ bowler in Dana Voytovich. So, Janelle, we have a star-studded and action-packed lineup.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys are comfortable in this center, so they know the lane conditions, they know what they have to do to come up on top, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, they're kind of Beat the Champ regulars. We hope you're always a Beat the Champ regular and you're excited for another week of great bowling action, so let's get rolling.
I'm here on Beat the Champ with our returning champ, Chuck Jagodzinski. We talk about this every month, the challenge of coming to a new center after you've been the champ. What do you see out there today?
Very much over-under. If I miss right, it hooked early. If I miss in, the ball didn't do nothing. So hopefully I can find a good shot on our pair we bowl on. So very over-under.
Well, the interesting part about that is that the scores here are exceptionally high, but that does actually pose a challenge now, doesn't it, that over-under condition?
Yes, it's going to be very challenging. I feel like the underdog because, first of all, I don't got a great shot there, and I'm bowling Mike, so I don't feel like the champ.
Well, you are,
Okay.
and I know you're going to find something out there. Just, do your best to line up, and we hope to see good scores out of you today.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I'm here on Beat the Champ with Mike Zarcone, someone we talk about whether you're here or not. Happen to be here this week. 846, that's a giant number. Tell us a little bit about that game.
It was really fun. I've been working with a little kid that I'm bowling with later on, and it was fun. I absolutely love shooting big numbers.
Well, he must have been very impressed with that. So we know this can be a high-scoring condition, but it's a little dry to the right, a little tight to the left. How are you going to approach the lane today?
Hopefully I got the right ball combination and we conquer it.
All right. Well, at the end of the day, that really is what it all is all about, isn't it? Ball choice.
Absolutely. Good ball reaction makes good scores.
All right, Mike. Good luck to you, and hope to see those big numbers today.
Thank you.
You talk about a heavyweight showdown to get us started here, and that has no reflection whatsoever on anything other than the bowling ability of Chuck Jagodzinski and Mike Zarcone. And here we go. This is going to be fun. And look at Chuck Jagodzinski with a little fist pump right off the bat.
Well, Chuck's already disarmed everybody by saying he's not comfortable with his shot.
Saying he's not very good here, right?
It could be his own way of being a genius here by
trying to psych out Zarcone.
Exactly. But I think here what's interesting is that you've got two very, very, very good bowlers.
Arguably two of the best bowlers in Western New York. It's a pretty good sized list, but any list that anybody's going to make of the best bowlers in New York are going to in Western New York are going to have Chuck and Mike on it.
Absolutely, and you can see by watching their games that their style is entirely different.
Right.
So it just goes to show you that you don't have to throw it one way or have a ton of revs or play the lane in an exact certain spot to succeed, because we're going to see two different approaches to the game, and yet they're both going to be successful.
Right. Now, Chuck Jagodzinski is our returning champion from 2 weeks ago at Manor 2 Lanes. He's on a 4-match winning streak, so a chance for Chuck with a win here to tie his personal career high on Beat the Champ, of 5 consecutive wins set in Jamestown a couple of years ago. But even beyond that, when it comes to Chuck, 14 wins and 9 losses on the show. This is his 16th show appearance, which is second to Mike Zarcone.
Yes. The important thing here is I think the key to it for Chuck is to not get down on himself, because I think that might be where, Chuck kind of has a challenge.
Right. Well, talk about that, because you and I both talked to Chuck before we started, and after you said good morning to him, the next thing out of his mouth was, "I'm not very good here."
Right.
And there's an open in the third for Chuck, and that may just fuel a little bit of his mental state.
The funny thing about that is this condition, although you'll see massive scores come out of here, and we saw massive scores in qualifying. I mean, admittedly, Mike shot 846 in part of his qualifying, and the scores are very high to make this TV show.
3 in a row for Mike Zarcone.
But this type of scoring condition, where it's drier to the right and heavier oils in the middle, is definitely not everybody's favorite shot to bowl on.
Right.
But when you do line up to it, the carry here is amazing, which is where the scores are coming from. It's coming from pin collision, not necessarily execution.
House pattern here, which leads to the high scores that you're talking about, correct?
Yes, because there's when it's really dry to the right, you can't necessarily play up it because the ball's going to hook off your hand, but it does when your ball hits it down the lane. It just snaps so hard that it creates good carry. So
right, and I think in Mike's ball, you're seeing that snap from right to left. Good throw, good roll that time for Chuck Jagodzinski.
And he got that one way to the right, but because those boards are so dry, it brings it back, and it brings it back hard, and it really, really snaps the 10 out.
There's Janelle manning the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard as always, and lots of strikes already. Matter of fact, we've had eight balls thrown, and or at least 8 frames so far, and we've had strikes in 7 of them.
Yeah, it's hard to have an open on this type of scoring pace.
But see, sometimes just because Chuck doesn't have a ball that snaps like that, that's twice in the last 3 we've seen him leave pins on the left side.
Well, what we're seeing is Chuck is playing straight up the drive boards. And when he was striking in the first couple frames, he was going more right to left. So his ball was crossing more at 10. And if he goes straight up those drive boards, the ball's going to hook too high for him.
This feels like a good time to take a short break. We'll be right back with more action on Beat the Champ. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV. This is the 23rd appearance from Mike Zarcone here on Beat the Champ, more than any other Western New York bowler. 20 wins, 16 losses. He is #1 in wins in Beat the Champ and #1 in show appearances. Although oddly and funny, and I'll explain to you why, we haven't seen him in a couple of months. Last time we saw Mike was at Lucky Lanes in April, but what you have to understand is with Mike and the really high-level bowlers, that has as much to do with going out and bowling tournaments around the East as it is not qualifying for Manor 2 or anywhere else that we've been since April.
Well, right. Well, May is a big month for Nationals, and Nationals this year, the USBC Nationals happens to be in Syracuse, so we're getting a lot of support from people who even maybe wouldn't have gone because it's close enough to actually make the trip.
First pin that Mike did not knock down is the 10 pin in the 6th frame. And again, Mike loves this place. Had a 300 game in the top 24 roll-off for Mike Zarcone. That was the 103rd of his career.
That's just, even take into account that he does bowl a lot. He bowls a lot of tournaments, bowls a lot of leagues, and so just by sheer numbers, that's obviously more opportunity, but still, that's just an incredible.
See, now that time Chuck gets it a little bit too much to the left and leaves pins on the right-hand side.
Well, his ball hooked to the left, but that's simply because he left it in the dry too long. So he's trying to go up the boards, and you're going to watch his ball roll up by the first arrow, and it's just plain and simple too dry out there. There's not enough oil out there. So again, his eyes need to be left so he catches some of that oil to his left.
50 years old from Lancaster, New York is Chuck Jagodzinski. 42 years on the lanes around Western New York. Full-time occupation, is employed at the Attica Correctional Facility.
And if you saw, that one was a lot better. That one did not cross a 5. That one was heading right to left, and that's what he needs to do.
So now back over to Mike for the 7th frame. Don't want to remind, or we want to not forget to remind you that the top qualifier in the round of 24 here each month on Beat the Champ wins a television valued at $500 from Dirt Cheap TV. The winner this month here at the Tonawanda Bowling Center was David Tolkaz. David had 300, I believe, in the qualifying,
right,
but then ran into some trouble in the top 24 roll-off, which is why we don't get to see David here on the show.
Well, when you're talking
he can watch us on his new Dirt Cheap
on his
TV.
new TV.
Yes.
When you're talking numbers that high, it's just as simple as not carrying. I mean, you can still hit the pocket the whole day, and if you don't strike enough, and 700 is still a big number to shoot. It's a lot of strikes.
Boy, that was just a perfect roll from Mike. The right board, the right spot, the right hook, and winds up right on the head pin, right in the pocket. Perfect.
Well, while we've got them both players still here, again, we're going to watch Chuck's approach. Another good one. That's another good one because he rolled over 10. Even though he's standing far to the right, his ball isn't going straight up the gutter. It's going right to left, and that's what he needs to do. But is it a little bit too late?
I think I'm more wondering than it may be. And just that open in the 3rd and the 2 spares in 5 and 6 have just put him behind, because Mike's been perfect except for 1 spare.
Another good shot.
Again, you can see it. You just, and that comes from your wonderful explanation to everybody, is that you know when it is in the right place, and it's gonna, because if the action is the same, when it starts in the right place, it's gonna end in the right place.
Right. Well, it's pretty much if you see the ball still around the first arrow, when it gets to the arrows, it's too dry. And Mike's not in that spot. Mike is deeper because he plays more in the oil, so he never sees those dry boards to have it overhit like that.
I was busting Mike a little bit earlier because we are fully in the middle of Mike Zarcone short season. Then again, Mike will wear those shorts like into November as well too sometimes. But
well, it is comfortable to bowl
yes,
without the restriction.
And it gets both. So yet another strike for Mike Zarcone. So it's a win for Mike over Chuck Jagodzinski. We come back and talk to Chuck and get you ready for match number 2 when Sue and I return to Beat the Champ at the Tonawanda Bowling Center. Well, Chuck, you were a little worried about the conditions here, about the way Mike bowls, but you started off hot. Those couple middle frames kind of put you in a little bit of a hole, didn't they?
Yeah, I was a little slow, and I was losing a very aggressive ball, so I had to go down a couple balls, and it was fine, but it took me half a game to change.
Yeah, right. And again, let's be honest. You're bowling against one of the best guys in town, and he throws a 279.
Yeah, and he bowled awesome here to qualify here, so I knew I would have to be on my game. 229 is not a bad game, but it's not a 279, right?
Yeah, no, I gotcha. Well, we get to see plenty of Chuck, and I know we'll see plenty more of him, and that's always a good thing. More of Mike Zarcone, match number 2, coming up from the Tonawanda Bowling Center.
I'm here on Beat the Champ with Rocket Rob Piccoli. How'd you get that nickname?
My usual higher than average ball speed. People, I can stay right while people have to migrate left because the transition as it gets drier. So sometimes I could stay right and just throw it a little harder.
And how does that come into play on a scoring condition like this, where I think they're a little bit drier to the right and a little bit tighter to the inside?
Yes, and so I could probably use that to my advantage, like in qualifying with the 764 I had. So.
All right, well, we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll talk about it while you bowl. Good luck today.
All right, thank you.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Match number 2 has this guy, Rocket Rob Piccoli, taking on Mike Zarcone. Second match of the day here at the Tonawanda Bowling Center. We have seen Rob on our show before. This is his 3rd appearance. 1 win and 2 losses. Last time we saw him was February of this year when he bowled at Transit Lanes. He wound up beating Pete Maduri and then losing to Bill Truman back at Transit Lane. So Rob is an outstanding bowler, and we don't see him on the show as much, but if he keeps throwing it like that, we're going to see him for a while.
Well, yeah, I talked a little bit to him in the interview, and he said his ball speed is where he got the name Rocket, because he can throw it pretty hard.
Speaking of which, he threw that one 20 miles an hour.
Yeah, he's got some ball speed.
We've got the speed monitor speed up on the monitors here, and we'll keep an eye on it for you, but that one at 20 miles an hour is pretty jolting to you.
Well, it's kind of funny that he made the show here in Transit Lanes, because I would say that comparably the shot is very similar. Dry up to the right, like the first 5 boards are pretty dry, and then a successive oil to the middle, which is a lot of oil.
So a hard thrower, is there a better place for him?
There is, because he can go in that drive and overpower it almost with his ball speed and his forward roll. If you watch his roll, you'll see the rotation looking almost forward to you. Well, you'll understand what forward roll is. You don't see that tilt, and that helps him not overreact in those dry boards.
All right, let's watch. Here's Rob in the second frame after you saw Mike Zarcone strike out in 1 and 2. Keep an eye on Rocket Rob's ball, and then I'll give you the speed after he throws it. So let's watch for that forward roll.
So you don't see a lot of skid flip with his ball. It's just very steady going down.
19.5 miles an hour.
Yeah, that was slow.
That was slow, right? Yeah. That a little less rocket fuel on that one. So.
But when you steadily throw the ball that speed, you need dry boards, because if you throw it in oil, that ball's just
it slows the ball down. Right.
Well, it's gonna the oil actually speeds it up.
Oh, right, because it'll almost skids more, right? Correct.
So he's already got that much ball speed.
So he's looking for the dry part. Unlike
looking.
Chuck Jagodzinski, who wanted to get away from the dry part, he's looking for the dry side.
Right, because although Chuck can play there a little straighter, his ball speed isn't devastating like this guy's ball speed is, where he'll overpower those dry boards.
Rob is 33 years old. He is from Kenmore, produce manager for Tops Markets. Has been bowling since he was 10 years old, a healthy 226 average. Got a good group of friends and family on here at the Tonawanda Bowling Center cheering him on. Second place finish in the Buffalo Bowlers Tour of 2017. Great pin action for the strike in frame 3.
Yeah, he can get that ball actually right to left, just like Chuck did too, and still have the ball drive and hit the pocket. So he's got a really nice ball reaction. Although, what can we say about Mike? We know he has nice ball reaction, but he had a little slip on this lane in practice. So the approach is a little bit slippery for him, and he put something on the bottom of his shoe, and you could hear kind of a skid right there.
He's messing around with it right now, too.
So now he's struggling a little bit with his feet, because you don't want your feet slipping out from underneath you while you're bowling.
So Mike getting that one a little too far left, which means he's got to pull the spare out, and he does. So it's a third frame spare for Mike Sarcone. His win over Chuck Jagodzinski, 279 to 229 in match number 1, the 21st victory for Mike Zarcone here on Beat the Champ. That is 6 more wins than any other bowler on this show.
Wow. He's made a lot of shows, though, so he's
made
been on
a lot of shows. This is 23rd show for Mike Zarcone. And that in itself is it's 7 more than Jagodzinski and almost double anybody else.
Wow. And we know it's not that easy to be in the top 9 every single time,
yes.
But he does a good job of it.
He was our #1 qualifier, obviously, coming into this. Had an 800 series, I believe, in the roll-off to get here, including that 300 game in Game 3.
He shot 781 to be the high qualifier. He shot 846 when he competed in the junior qualifier. That is for the 4th show.
And it's funny, Mike was telling us that he seems to always wind up on this pair when he bowls here at Tonawanda, which he says he doesn't bowl here very often, but he's had some of the best scores he's ever thrown in his life on pair 37 and 38 here at Tonawanda.
Yeah, this is another bowling center where they added on after the bowling center had been around for a while. So this is the newer section of the house. and it tends to play a little tighter than the low end, which has been here for a while.
Is that as much based on age and wear and tear than anything else?
Yeah, definitely. And because you're far away from the counter where you get the least amount of open bowling.
How about that one coming in at 19.5 miles per hour as Rob Piccoli just pounds the pins away in frame 5. I do have to say, Rob's sound, the ball, when his ball hits the pin, sounds just about as good as anybody else's. We'll let you really listen on the next frame. Strike in the 5th for Mike Zarcone.
This looks like a good time to take a break. We'll be back with more Beat the Champ right after this. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. So we've got a 2-pin match here, so this is just the battle of the strikes.
Mike Zarcone already into the Greater Buffalo USBC Hall of Fame. Of course, a past Obenauer Masters champion and a 5-time Buffalo Bowler of the Year. This is the 6th frame. The classic twist of the wrist and spin of the ball off his hands. If you've watched Mike, you know that if that's working well, then he's bowling well.
Well, I think that from the first game to the second game, he got pushed in a little bit where he hit that skid spot on the lane. Like there was just a slippery spot, and he is inside of that now. I think he's moved just a little bit, so doesn't seem to be struggling with his
All right,
feet
we're gonna let you watch and listen to Rocket Rob Piccoli. Let's see how it sounds and how many pins he knocks down when he gets himself lined up and ready to go. A regular bowler all over town is Rob Piccoli. Leagues Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Wow, that's a lot of bowling.
Yeah, that's a lot of bowling. How'd that sound?
Loud.
That was loud and effective, and Rob has had strikes except for a spare in frame number 2. Zarcone strikes except for a spare in frame 3, so we're pretty much kind of dead even here, aren't we?
Nope, just separated by where that spare was.
Right.
Versus the second frame or the third frame.
Yep. So these two guys are going at it, and funny, knowing that we had Chuck Jagodzinski, Mike Zarcone, and Dana Voytovich on this show, you might have said Rob was the outlier here a little bit, but right now he is bowling as well as anybody and really putting Mike to the test.
Now, off his hand, he almost looks like he's pulling it.
19.88 miles per hour.
Yeah.
I want to see him get over 20. I want to see one get over. It's like the equivalent of like a 100-mile-an-hour fastball in baseball. I want to see it. Don't forget, top qualifier in the round of 24 each month here on Beat the Champ wins television valued at $500 from Dirt Cheap TV. Mike Zarcone has taken at least one of those TVs home that I know of, maybe even more than one.
That was a great shot right there. Both these guys are playing the lanes a little bit different, but they both got that excellent drive into the pocket that's creating good carry.
Yeah, this, as you look at the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard, this one, we may have both guys up and over 275, 280 here in this one, huh?
Those 2 pins are going to come into play. They're going to have carry. It's going to definitely matter.
Boy, Mike has got it dialed in, just everything perfect as soon as it leaves his hands. Now, again, speed isn't the always determiner. Mike just threw a perfect strike at slightly under 16 miles per hour. Again, we're raving about Rob's speed, but it's like in anything, it's never all about that.
No, it affects where they're playing on lane. So Mike's just using more of the oil, and Rob is using more of the drive. Rob is actually setting his ball down in the dry, but he is throwing it into the oil. But you can see by where they're playing on the lane, where that ball speed will come into play. So
got a little bit right there and couldn't get that 2-pin to go down.
Well, that's a testament there to his ball speed.
A little slower ball for, again, relative at 19.2 miles per hour, but a little slower than what we've seen. So a potentially crucial spare here in the 8th frame, and it may very well come down to this. Rob picks it up. So now he knows he probably has to try to strike out here, and because he pretty good chance he knows what Mike's going to be able to do.
Oh yeah, definitely. This is all a matter of carry here, so he knows that Mike's going to go up there and put it in the pocket at least.
So this is frame number 9 for Rob Piccoli. His streak of 5 consecutive strikes coming to an end in the 8th frame.
Wow.
Again, a little too far.
No, that was a good shot.
No, was it? Just didn't get that 10 pin to go down?
It just hit a little flat because he's not trying to put a lot of rotation on the ball. He's really trying to just almost throw it at the head pin. He's not, because too much rotation is going to read that drive wrong. So that was just a matter of how he hit the 1-3 pocket. Wrapped it around it.
We got a little bit to the left there, but was able to nudge that pin and grab the spare in the 9th frame. So now Mike with a chance to kind of put this one away after the consecutive spares, and Mike is working on 5 consecutive strikes himself right now.
And Mike's got about a 10-pin advantage here, but if he strikes, he's going to put himself in a really good position.
Perfect. Perfectly in the pocket, perfectly where he needs it to be, and a 6th consecutive strike for Mike Zarcone. And now he'll move to the 10th frame with a chance to win this one and win it while Rob sits and watches. Good match, good battle by Rob Piccoli, and again, fun to watch the guys who are the flamethrowers.
Flamethrowers, that's good.
10th frame, first ball strike for Mike Zarcone on his way to another win and a matchup with one of the top bowlers in Western New York and just about one of the hottest guys in town, and it's going to be fun to watch Mike Zarcone battle Dana Voytovich. It's a win for Mike Zarcone, 2 in a row with Rob Piccoli. We're back with more and get you ready for that match when Sue and I return right after this. Well, Rob, you bowled really well. You were kind of strike to strike with Mike Zarcone, then a little bit of stumble there in, I think, the 8th frame. What got away from you?
I think I just missed it at the bottom a little bit, a little more turn, and it kind of slid past the head pin, barely.
Is there, I mean, you're going up against one of the best guys in town who now has thrown 278, 279. Can you get that out of your head, or is it hard to?
No, it's 1 frame at a time. So I know Mike, he can throw strikes till he dies. So.
Right, and unfortunately, after we cut away, Rob did give us the thrill of throwing one over 20 miles per hour. That was kind of fun to see, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, something he shoots for and something he's good at and something that's awfully fun to watch. So Zarcone moves on. We're going to have a great match number 3. Rob, good to have you on the show. Rob Piccoli with a good performance, pushing Mike right to the end. We'll see how it shakes out. Match number 3 coming up from Tonawanda right after this.
I'm here on Beat the Champ with guess who? Dana Voytovich. That was an awesome display last month. We know a lot more about you after last week, and here you are again. So, different scoring condition than you were on last time, huh?
Yeah, I mean, definitely higher scores, really high scores in qualifying. I struck a lot, so that was helpful. Not my favorite scoring pace, but I'm here, so.
And that's something, from bowling all these tournaments, you do get a little more accustomed to those sports shots where you can really excel, and this is actually more of a shootout for you, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, everyone strikes, so it's more anybody's game. Who can strike more, who carries.
Right. Well, we're happy to see you again this month, and good luck to you. Hope to see you the whole month.
Thank you.
All right.
And we got another star-studded showdown for match number 3 as Zarcone goes for his 3rd in a row against a very familiar name, the Western New York bowlers, Dana Voytovich, the defending Obenauer Masters champion and a highly successful guy here on this show as he makes his 8th appearance, and in just those 7 appearances, a 12-3 beat the champ record.
Great shot.
And the two-handed bowler with a strike right off the bat. Mike Zarcone, who has thrown 279 and 278 in the first 2 matches, may need to be right about there again. And it wouldn't shock you if that isn't enough to win.
Right. Well, this is the first time Mike's facing somebody who's playing the lanes almost exactly the way he is, deeper and taking advantage of the oil, not just trying to control the drive. So it'll be interesting to see how these two match up, because we know that we've learned that the rev rate on the two-handers are higher.
Oh yeah.
So he needs to be deeper in the oil, where Mike, who creates that little shovel trick with his hand, needs the oil too. So now these two are battling out in the oil as opposed to how the dry affects it.
Right. So the higher rev rate and the higher speed and the higher power of Dana's two-handed throw, what does the oil do to that? Is it a positive or a negative?
Well, he needs oil because of the rev rate created by a two-hander. So again, and Mike needs it because of his ball speed and his release. So now it's going to be, if they're going to hit the dry, they got to hit it well down the lane. They can't hit the dry anywhere near before, even 2/3 down the lane, they need to use that dry.
Right. 21 years old from Cheektowaga is Dana Voytovich. We hope you had a chance to see last week's show when we sat down with Dana and Jagr and went through the final match of the Obenauer Masters that was won by Dana Voytovich. Well, we had a lot of fun doing it. We thank Dana and particularly Jack, who had to come into the studio and relive all the pain and misery of not winning the Obenauer, but he did a great job with us, and it was great to see the two guys interact with each other.
And no one can relive pain and misery like Jack.
But that was a lot of fun for us to do, and that's something that we're going to try to continue to do on an annual basis because the Obenauer is so important. And and Dana knows that. As you get a look at Janelle and the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard with strikes across the board, Dana has enough, appreciates the history of bowling in this town and gets a lot of it, and a few lucky breaks like that one, gets a lot of it from his Uncle Greg, so he knows how important it was to, at 21 years old, to win the Obenauer.
And what's really cool is that gives an opportunity to get a little bit of personality out of these guys. I mean, we know they're great bowlers, but we don't know that much about two-handers. And Dana's so young that, wow, we don't necessarily have the familiarity that we have of someone like a Jack, who we've seen bowl for years. So we got a little glimpse into their personalities and how nice it was to see, someone who's experienced in this game like Jack. The respect between the two of them, I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about what a significant moment it is in Buffalo bowling history to have the first two-hander win this city's most important tournament, and what that potentially means for the future of the sport, for the next generation of the sport. But Dana understands that as well too. That it was a pretty significant moment. Whether the traditional bowlers liked it or not,
wow,
to have a two-hander win the Obenauer is a big deal.
I get the feeling that the two-handers just want to be looked upon as bowlers. I mean, when you watch his ball roll down the lane, it doesn't look that different from anybody else. And I don't think that they really separate themselves so much from the traditional bowler, but for the traditional bowler, they may be looking at it a little bit differently because it's revolutionized the sport. It's changed it, and it'll change equipment.
Do you think the traditional bowlers are a little jealous of the two-handers, or do they sort of scoff at it a little bit?
No, I think they have absolute respect for it, and I think that if it would be interesting to ask people along the way how they feel about it. but there's a lot of traditional bowlers that create a ton of rev rate now too. This game has changed, and it's become a power game more than a finesse game that it started out being.
Yeah, the messenger does not deliver on the 7-pin for Dana, so that's the first time in this match, and we're in the 5th frame, that either of these guys have not knocked down all 10 pins. As crazy as it sounds, the way both these guys are bowling, you might point to that frame as the key moment here, because the way Mike is bowling right now.
But you know what's interesting is that we talk about the two-handers and the rev rate. They still have to make their spares like everybody else, and rev rate's no help when it comes to making spares. So, you know, there's still honing your skills is just still what it's about.
Perfect through 5 for Mike Zarcone. The action will continue on Beat the Champ in just a minute. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. And I think, you know, as I've learned from you, just because you feel great and you're confident and you're in a place that you bowl well, until you start to throw those first 2 frames, you're never really sure. Mike's been great from the minute he walked in the door here. And there's a 10-pin that'll hang up for Mike, so he'll have to play for the spare here in frame number 6.
You know what, and something as simple as like the slip, Mike slipped a little bit on the approach, and all of a sudden you start second guessing things. And this is such an easy game for something to just flip on you on a dime, like a slip or a stick. And you can see from Mike's approach, it's very important. He's got what we call late timing, so he gets to his spot, and then the ball comes through. So it's very important that he is steady at the line in order for everything to come together.
Last time we saw Dana Voytovich, aside from our Obenauer recap show last month, was when he went on an amazing 11-match winning streak. It started in Batavia at the end of 2017, extended to the Rapids Bowling Center in 2018. Those 11 wins in a row, second all-time to the 14-match win streak put on the board by Jeremy Zimmerman here on Beat the Champ. So that's why I talked about Dana has won 12 overall matches. 11 of them came on that one streak.
Well, what we learned about him when we did our Obenauer thing is that he competes every weekend in tournaments, and it has so much value to have that mindset of competition.
And it also restricts his ability to make every show as well too, which is part of the reason why we haven't seen him as much. And oh, by the way, he was graduating from UB just a couple of weeks ago and getting through that part of his life as well. As a matter of fact, he graduated the day before he won the Obenauer Masters Championship.
Yeah, that's amazing. Chad, me, and another young man, and that has managed to compete on a regular basis and graduate from college with important degrees.
So we move to the 7th frame for Mike Zarcone. Don't forget, top qualifier in the round of 24 every month here on Beat the Champ. Wins a television valued at $500 from Dirt Cheap TV. So Mike, after a spare in the 6th, now again another opportunity to take control of this match, and he does with a strike in the 7th.
Well, we should mention too that qualifying is starting this week at Alley Brett, which is our next stop in Lockport, and it's going to start on a Thursday. So if a weeknight is good for people, there's going to be qualifying on Thursday the 28th at 6:30 and 8:30 p.m. And then that weekend, Saturday the 30th, 12, 2, and 4, and Sunday the 1st, 12, 2, and 4, with the roll off on Sunday at 7 o'clock, July 1st.
Another strike for Mike. And I kind of noted this. I noticed this a little bit in the records that I keep. That first match at Alley Brant Lanes, whomever is bowling in it, will be our 100th competition match here on Beat the Champ since we've been back. We've done more than 100 shows because of our 4th show exhibitions, but it'll be the 100th competition. Now, yeah, I do appreciate good numbers. And right now we're getting good numbers from Mike and Dana. Like lots of 10s in every frame.
So not for lack of hitting the pocket, but because of carry, right now Mike has a 20-pin lead.
just by nature of one spare versus two spares for Dana.
Absolutely.
And those two spares were literally single pins that just did not get thrown down.
So if you watch Dana, he really goes to the left a lot to get that ball around his body. Very nice.
Yeah, the approach is very interesting to watch from Dana. He starts to the right, kind of curves to the left, and then has the ball go from the right to the left. There's a lot of movement going on there, but again, it's how he's adapted on his approach to what his motion is with the ball.
Right. Well, he needs to bring the ball behind his back, and he has two hands on it, so he's got to bring that. He's got to twist. Wow.
Yeah,
first
that one
bad
just
shot.
got off away from Mike Zarcone, and here in the 9th frame, a big door opener here.
Yeah, we've got a match here.
So Mike will have to pull the 3-6 here to notch the spare, but that tightens this one up. So now we head to the 10th frame, and quite a match here between Mike Zarcone and Dana Voytovich.
So right now, Mike cannot shut Dana out. Mike can go 257 if he strikes out. Dana can go 259 if he strikes out.
So the pressure on.
Great shot.
And nobody responds to the pressure better than Mike Zarcone. So he does what he needs to do. Let's see if he can continue to strike out here. But again, it won't guarantee him a win, but it certainly puts the pressure on your opponent.
Absolutely.
And there you can see where we're at on the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard.
Well, I'll tell you, as a bowler, all you want to do is a chance. You want to have the ability in your hands to get up and do it, and no matter what, Dana's going to have that chance.
But we'll know what he has to do based on how Mike does here. There's another 10th frame strike.
Well, Mike's not going to make it easy on him,
No,
that's for sure. He's going to need every bit
not.
of it.
Mike knows better than to try to make it than let anybody have it easy. Sarcone, who is looking for a 3rd consecutive win here after 279, 278, has got himself in a battle here. Winner of this match advances on to next week's show. And look at Mike Zarcone responding with 3 consecutive strikes to put up a 257. So, simply, Dana Voytovich needs to strike out.
He needs to strike in 9.
Strike in 9, right.
Strike in 8 will tie, 2 strikes in 9. 2 strikes in 8 will be a tie. 2 strikes in 9, 3 strikes will be a winner.
There's strike number 1. For the 21-year-old Dana, recent college graduate Dana Voytovich. Good to see that Uncle Greg is here watching him. Uncle Greg could not be there to watch him win the Obenauer Masters. He was out of town for business, but Greg is here cheering on his nephew, and always good to say hello to Greg as we did earlier today. All right, again, Dana needs a strike here to set up that final roll. Okay,
Great
we're
shot.
coming right down to the final ball of this match. Set it up for everybody. Tell them again.
Okay, so we're looking at 9 or better to win, 8 to
8
tie.
to tie, and then we have a 1 frame roll off if we get to that. Okay, so we certainly know Dana knows how to respond to the pressure. You know, in the Obenauer by not being able to do that. So 9 pins is a winner for Dana Voytovich. And that's exactly what he gets. And it's a 1-pin 258 to 257 win for Dana Voytovich. What a match between 2 of the best bowlers in Western New York. I don't think we expected anything different.
Right. And Dana came out the victor by 1 pin, so Guess you'll have to talk to Mike about this
Yes,
match.
we will. We'll talk to both guys about an epic match here when BTC returns to the TBC right after this. We've had some great matches here on Beat the Champ. I think it's safe to say that was one of the best we have ever had, partly because of the two guys that are standing here with us. You guys have been two of the most fun bowlers to watch. To see you match up like that, I know you're not real happy about it, but when you bowl a great fellow bowler and he pushes you right to the end, do you enjoy that challenge?
Absolutely. You know, he's a great bowler. He just proved it. He just won the Open Hour, so, you know, one bad shot, that's all it takes.
You know, to think you bowled, what, 279, 278, and a 258 wasn't even enough is kind of crazy.
Right. Shooting 814, you don't expect to lose, but when you bowl in great bowlers, it can happen.
Yeah, well, and that's the great bowler standing next to you, Sue.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit before this this interview here about finishing on lane 38, and we put some significance on where you start and where you finish. Tell us a little bit about lane 38.
Yeah, lane 38 I thought was definitely the easier lane. I had a lot of room out there. Lane 37 was a little tighter, had like a little hang spot, but I was pretty confident I was going to double on the 10th on the right lane on 38.
Is that a little strategy for going forward now?
Yeah, for sure. For sure, yeah.
Great bowling. Good luck
Thank
to
you.
Well, we've seen Dana Voytovich rattle off 11 wins in a row. Was that number one on his next winning streak? You'll have to wait a week to find out. Sue and I will wrap up this show, get you ready for week number 2 when Beat the Champ returns right after this. All I can say is, wow, what a great show, partly because we had some of the best bowlers in Western New York, and they all bowled great. And we know you love the sport because that's why you're watching this show, but you have to come away from a show like that going, this is amazing.
Wow, can people bowl? I mean, what do you got to shoot to win? I mean, we're looking at the lowest winning score was 258, so can we keep this up all month?
It would be a lot of fun, and maybe we can based on the way the lanes here at the Tonawanda Bowling Center are acting and reacting. But Dana Voytovich, who again, as we've talked about, is one of the bright young stars of the sport here in Western New York, we're going to get to see him, 3 new bowlers online for him when we come back next month. It's nice and easy on you now when all you're doing is writing those extras.
I love it. I love it. And the energy from the crowd is so intense with these high scores, so I really hope we can keep it going throughout the month.
All right, well, we will see you one week when Dana Voytovich matches up against 3 new guys trying to knock him off. The bowling's been great. It's only going to get better. We'll see you next week on Beat the Champ.